All right, fellas, welcome back. All White Judy here. So, couple of injuries coming into this window, which is a bit unfortunate. So that means Ollie stays, seeing as Simon Curtis picked up an injury, and also Jamie Young for some reason can't call him up from the under 23. So coming in, young Piercy from Aberdeen, lots of potential. Looking forward to seeing what you can do. Now, two South American teams, thankfully, they're coming to New Zealand, but Ecuador, we've beaten them before in a warm-up game for World Cup, so we should be able to handle them. They're below us on the world rankings. Paraguay, though, a little bit higher, but they're no Brazil. So we should be okay, guys. 2 wins here, and who knows, could be a top 30 team off the back of this, okay? 2 wins, that's the goal, guys. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 112 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Shaun Does FM with both Cashmere Technical and the All Whites. And coming up today to finish off the week, we're going to make our way through the June international window in 2035. 2 games at home against South American teams, 1 ranked below us in Ecuador and 1 above us in Paraguay. So if you're looking forward to that as well as a bit of an update on life at Cashmere Technical, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But yesterday we played the Champions League final against Auckland City. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Very, very good result for us there. We beat them 6-0 to pick up a 6th straight Champions League. Got to talk about 6, baby, but today we're switching to All Whites mode, because off the back of that, there's been a lot of games that we should have been winning at Cashmere Tech, and thankfully that was the case, albeit have had to deal with a few factors. We'll just check in on those before we get stuck into these All Whites games coming up, both in Christchurch, as I said, against Ecuador and Paraguay. First up, a couple of injuries we've been dealing with. As you can see there, Kanate, Debnam and Deering all currently out with an injury, and those injuries were quite long lasting. And just coming back from injury as well, Xavier Smith and Louis Evans. Thankfully, Evans came back from a minor injury in time to be fit for this international window. So a couple of notable injuries there to a few regular first team starters, 3 of them there, Debenham, Smith and Evans. It did mean had to change things up because of course the under 20 requirements for our league in New Zealand. And also while that was going on, the under 23 Pacific Games kicked off and they took some of our players, quite a few of them including Jamie Young, which actually means we can't select them for this international window with the All Whites. No idea why they think those games are more important than the actual fixtures for the national team, but we've been missing quite a few players in the last couple of games in the Southern League, but thankfully picked up a win in the first round of the Chatham Cup, albeit a bit more scratchy than you would expect. There you can see 2 injuries did come from that 3-1 win down in Wanaka. To be fair, that could have been quite a good bus trip actually. Second up in yesterday's episode, but did think we were going to beat them quite comfortably. In the end, they were actually more of a match for us than Auckland City. We're off the back of that 5-0 win against Christchurch United. They're still second in the Southern League, so that's quite a good win for us. And off the back of that, wins by 4-1 over Nelson Suburbs, 3-1 over Otago Uni, 4-0 over Selwyn United, and 4-1 over the Dunedin City Royals. That's what's happened at Cashmere Tech in the 6 games we've played off the back of yesterday's episode. Quick update as well on the National League. There's the Northern League and the Central League. The usual suspects are on top of those ones, and we are 9 points clear of Christchurch United with only 5 games left in the season. Does look like we'll be lifting that title yet again and going through very comfortably to the National League Championships. That's what's going on at Cashmere Technical. But now let's switch over to New Zealand mode for these 2 games in today's episode. Last window, a win over Australia and a draw against Japan. Hopefully can do a bit better this time around against some teams out of South America instead of Asia. First up, we take on Ecuador. Those guys a little bit below us in 38th on the world rankings. Does look like these days no more Moises Caicedo like they had going into the previous World Cup when we took them on back in 2030 in the lead up to that tournament. Off the back of that, a bit of a tougher test for us as we take on Paraguay. They're a good team. They are up in 24th in the world, so a little bit below Japan, who we drew with in that last window. But being from South America, they could actually be quite a tough task for us in that second game, especially with a pretty well-rounded, you'd say these days, Julio Enciso at Chelsea instead of Brighton, albeit he is currently injured out for 2 to 3 months, so he won't be featuring in this window. Maybe that does make them a bit more beatable. Paraguay definitely should be the toughest opposition we do play in today's episode. Both games are being played down in Christchurch. We'll touch on that shortly because it is at a different venue than we're used to in both the GMP and these days My Arena. But in terms of our squad going into this window, as I said, Jamie Young on under 23G for some reason, so we couldn't pick him. So instead, Shaun Pearce from Aberdeen comes in for this window. Really high potential youngster, current ability not too great, but did want to give him a chance in this window with the lack of Jamie Young. So he's in there alongside Jamie Kelly. He'll start this first game because Kelly is on a heavy workload, and also I think he might be recommended for 45 minutes. In fact, no, it's just that Kelly is not quite on a full green hat. Only one player recommended for 45 minutes so far in this window. That is Lucas Kelly-Hill. He comes back, and thankfully that is the case because Simon Curtis, he got injured, so Ollie McGoldrick does keep his spot in the team. And the same applies for Cody Phoenix, and Adam White is still the first choice because, of course, Liberae Kakache is retiring in 4 days, so we have moved him on. So those are the changes from that last window that we did play with the All Whites. Hopefully can pick up a couple of good results here in this window, especially this first game against the team who are ranked below us a little bit. Now, I think this is the first time that we're playing a game in Christchurch at Rugby League Park, which is also known as the stadium the Crusaders currently play at. I can't remember the name of it because the sponsor name changes so often, it's a bit hard to remember now. I can't actually remember if we've done a bus trip there, but we did do a bus trip with Cashmere Tech out to Selwyn, and we drove past the entrance to this ground. So I don't actually think we need to do one, but we'll just show you guys what this stadium looks like. To be fair, in real life, in 2035, they should have the Flash New Stadium sponsored by One New Zealand / Vodafone, like came out today in the news. But let's just show you this ground that we're playing at. Because I dare say FM won't have the picture of it, and indeed that is the case. It was a temporary stadium that was sorted out after the big earthquake down there in 2011. We'll just do a little bit of a mini bus trip here with a quick look at the venue before we get stuck into these two games. And this is the area that we are talking about where this ground is in Christchurch, right next to Addington Raceway, which I think we got a view from the motorway on our way during that Selwyn bus trip that we did do, albeit probably not from the best angle. Lots of pictures there that we could have a look at of the horse racing track, but we want to have a look at the Apollo Project Stadium. That's the current name, but I dare say won't need to think about that for too much longer once the fancy new stadium does get built. So here's a view from the outside of the ground, one of the entrances. There's the car park. There you can see that must be gate A around it, and there it is there, one of the entrances to the stadium. To be fair, not too much to look at there. Do remember this is a little bit of a pop-up stadium, was previously used mainly for club rugby league games in Christchurch before the big earthquake, which brought their big stadium down previously in Lancaster Park and Jade Stadium. I know all about that because I was down there at university at the time. There was a fair few earthquakes that did take place, but I'll just go back here and we'll have a look at the ground from the middle of the pitch. And it's not the greatest view of the pitch we're actually going to get here from this photo that was taken in 360 view, because this was for a concert with Bruce Springsteen and Jet, as we're about to see, which I was not expecting for the view that we'd get. I thought it would be a rugby game involving the Crusaders, more likely than not, but there you can see the stage and there are the stands on the side. As you can see, it's actually quite a nice size for a football / rugby ground here in New Zealand, but very temporary, shouldn't be around for too much longer with a new stadium getting built as I speak currently down there in Christchurch. But there is the ground we're playing these two friendlies at for this window against the South American team. Should be nice and cold in June, so hopefully that will throw them off and we can pick up some wins. First up as we take on Ecuador. And here are the team sheets for this first friendly where we do take on Ecuador. Our changes for this one: Billingsley over Kelly-Hill with that minute restriction. And also, we have got Bratic as a ball wing midfielder. We have got Pearce in the cam, as you saw earlier. And Hall Jones out left. All those changes are because players not quite on a full green heart or on a heavy workload. Missed Ecuador there. But hopefully, we can start this window off with a win against the lower ranked opposition. And we have to wait until the 20-minute mark for the first highlight of this game. So far, Ecuador have had all the action in their favour based on stats, which is a bit concerning. And again here, they are on the attack. And hello on the ball there down that right-hand side. Good work from Bratic but then the ball just gets shielded from him there, so he can't win it back. And Mario Arroyo will put that one away. I thought someone there should have gone the way of that shot, a defender, but unfortunately that is not the case. But to be fair, based on stats, hard to argue that Ecuador don't deserve to be 1-0 up based on what those are so far. Alex Paulson does get a touch on that, but unfortunately not a very big one, and Ecuador off the back of 4 shots, that's their second one on target, do take a 1-0 lead. Hopefully get a response from the boys off the back of that, and good interception there from Jacob Hall-Jones. And he starts to make his way to the right-hand side, albeit poor pass, albeit Rodriguez with a loose touch. Hall-Jones back on the ball, plays it through nicely for George McDonald. It's an EIEI goal. Lovely finish, that one. Right into the top right corner. Off the back of that, we'll just cancel it in case that demand more did not go through, but of course it did. But thankfully, we strike back straight away with our first attack, really, of the game of any note. Loose touch there from Rodriguez, but Hall-Jones does all the hard work for this goal, and that is a really good finish that from George McDonald into the top right corner to beat Rojas, and thankfully not behind for too long here. Hopefully we can stop having these slow starts like we've had in the last couple of friendlies and actually get off to a hot one ourselves next time around when we do take on Paraguay in the second friendly in today's episode. But shortly off the back of that goal, there's a free kick in our favour. Hopefully can now start to get ourselves going off the back of that early scare through that opening goal. Adam White on the ball down our left-hand side, starts to make his way forward, plays that one forward to Hall-Jones. Good before that time, the loose touch does get capitalised on, albeit Adam White wins that in the air, but for some reason picks out Pays there in the midfield. He starts to make his way forward, and then Akulo does get in behind our defence. Akurio, I should say. That's a really soft goal to concede right off the back of getting back into this one. Ecuador go back in front. So lots of goals here in this 5-minute period, about halfway through the first half, but really that came from the loose touch from Hall-Jones, and then Adam White with a poor header from him to give the ball straight back to Ecuador, and we're back behind by a goal at the half-hour mark. And only a couple of minutes on from that goal, which put Ecuador back in front. Now there's a free kick here in our favour, which we do take short, going out there to Adam White, who really could have helped us deal with that danger if he found a teammate before, and that is a poor pass. Adam White not having a good couple of minutes here in this game, but thankfully, I think that was Pierce who won that ball down the left-hand side. George McDonald makes his way forward, takes on a shot there, looking again for the top corner, but this time decent tip over the bar there from the Ecuadorian goalkeeper. But it looks like here, if we don't score from this highlight, could be going to half-time 2-1 down. Let's see if something does happen from this corner kick there with a chance from a tight angle. Then it falls to Hall-Jones, who unfortunately puts that one to the side, albeit off the back of a deflection from Ibarra. So another chance here for us from set piece. Keat will float this one far post, looking for Bindon. Unfortunately, can't find him. Ecuador can do something on the counter-attack. Let's see if the highlight continues. It doesn't. Still 2-1 Ecuador late in the first half. And it looks like that will do it for the first half. Just 2 minutes of injury time, which we do get through. And that was a pretty average performance. Did quite well to get ourselves right back into that game off the back of the first goal, which was scored for Arroyo. Nice reply there from George McDonald. But then some pretty poor work on the ball down our left-hand side did mean that Ecuador got back in front. Now, Chris Jones can come on for Keat on a 6.4. And also, thought Adam White and Bradic weren't too great there in that first half. So Phoenix can come on at left back, and Louis Evans on a heavy workload, but we'll bring him on here for Bradic, not having the best day out there. Felt like he could have done a bit better in some of those defensive situations to give the boys here a little bit of a rack up and hopefully come from behind and grab something out of this game, because currently we're 2-1 behind. And we're just about to make our way up to the hour mark in this game, and so far there's been no action, albeit it does feel like in terms of the stats we're starting to get a bit more parity there. But because of the lack of action, we are going to put some more attacking rolls out wide and also go a bit wider in attack as well. Pickering can come on for Hall-Jones on the red heart, and as well as that Stamanic will come on for Beal for the exact same reason. A couple of subs to try and kick us into gear. Still 2-1 down with under a half hour left. And only a few minutes on from those previous subs and changes that we did make, now Martin Darman at right back is down to a red heart. Victor Sono can come on for him. And also while we're here, we'll chuck Louis Evans onto support, distribute to fullbacks, and hopefully that might kick us into gear. That's all our subs used. With 20 minutes left, still a goal down. And in fact, before those changes can go through, there's a highlight here that starts. Hopefully we might grab an equaliser here, because certainly now we are starting to run out of time. Stamanic plays that one back to Bindon. Now Evans back for Marco, who starts to make his way forward. Of course, these days in real life, the Forest / Olympiacos play a nice ball in there from Cody Phoenix, and George McDonald gets himself on a hat-trick. He has carried us quite heavily in some friendlies we have played recently. That's the case again today, but nice work here from Stamanic and then Phoenix, and George McDonald really hard to miss from there, thankfully puts that one away. Off the back of that, I do think we'll still go through with those changes, but hopefully that might help us kick on and pick up a win 2-all with only 15 minutes left. And just making my way into the last 5 minutes of this game, stats-wise now, we've definitely been the better team in this game, but unfortunately still locked up at 2-all because of that poor first half. So now it's time for us here to go full out attack. We'll also be more expressive. Just see if that might help us create one more chance in the last couple of minutes of this game. We won't go full on crazy and do liberos like we do at World Cups, and it might be working. A highlight here in the last minute of added time. Pickering off the bench, looking there for Phoenix, doesn't link up well at all. That's really poor that from Josh Pickering, the Chicago Fireman. Decent chance there for Nazarano, but thankfully Paulson comes up with a decent save. We'll just see if going to positive does stop that highlight. Unfortunately, that's not the case, but hopefully that was the big chance from that highlight as here Ecuador now go into over the added time the referee was scheduled to play. Thankfully, that highlight does get cut off. It's a 2-all draw. To be fair, considering we went behind twice in that game, I think we'll take that. Hopefully can go with something a bit closer to a first choice 11 for this window in that second game against Paraguay. And without Enciso, hopefully can pick up a result there. But really, that's a bit disappointing, especially based on the full-time stats. We can only manage a draw there against the team ranked below us. Let's hope we can do better when we take on Paraguay. And here are the team sheets for the second game at the same venue only a few days later, and a couple of changes. A few more players than recommended for 45 minutes, a couple that haven't recovered too well. So Sono is at right back, Stamanic in there over Beal, and as well as that, we have got the entire attacking midfield. 3 have been changed. Jones at right wing, we've got Kelly in central attacking midfield, and as well as that, this time Josh Pickering, he will start out on the left wing. And an early highlight here, hopefully this time can actually get off to a good start, because it feels like the last couple of games we've played with the All Whites, we've been a bit slow off the mark. This time actually looks like we might be doing what I was hoping would be the case. Pickering there with the assist for Jamie Kelly, but too good to be true. He's offside as he puts that one away. Not an early goal there for the Hutt Valley hero. Still 0 at the 5-minute mark. And we have to go forward to just show the 20-minute mark for the next highlight of this game off the back of that opening goal, which did get ruled out quite clearly for an offside there against Jamie Kelly, but thankfully on the attack yet again here. So it does look like this time we're the team on the front foot early, looking for Pickering there. Far post, usually pretty good with those headers. Unfortunately that time can't quite hit the target. Still 0-0. And we've gone forward exactly 10 minutes off the back of that previous highlight. Again, we have the ball here thrown inside the final third. Bradic he's that one forward nicely for McDonald, who picks out Victor Sono. Looking for Stamanic there. Unfortunately, that one pierces our midfielders. Now Paraguay with a chance, really, to do something for the first time in this game on the counter-attack. This would be a bit harsh if they did score from this highlight. A header there, which thankfully comes off the woodwork. Not the best attempt there from Alex Paulson at a save, but thankfully we get away with it. Still 0-0 with 10 minutes left in the first half. And just making our way here into the last couple of minutes of the first half so far, a pretty even game. Based on the highlights we've seen, I think our chances have been more, but Paraguay with the higher XG, despite the fact they've had less shots on target, but doesn't matter, 0-0 at halftime. But to be fair, no one out there is playing too badly. We're not behind like we were in that previous game. We'll tell the guys, doing okay, let's kick on and try and win this thing. We'll save up all 6 subs for the second half, still 0-0. And very shortly into the second half, I've just realised that, of course, Kelly Hield is recommended for 45 minutes. Him coming on for Billingsley might not be the worst idea, especially as Pickering has just picked up an orange injury. We'll play things safe. Hall Jones can come on for him, of course, set up that first goal in that previous friendly where we did take on Ecuador. So a couple of changes early in the second half, but still scoreless. And going forward about 10 minutes from those changes which we did make, now there's a free kick for us here as one of the Paraguay players argues with the official while we're doing that. McDonald does set up the free kick there though. For some reason, Stamanic was open at the far post, opted for the shot from a tight angle instead of trying to spread it across the face of goal. And it's a bit of a waste there of a good chance, but thankfully, only a few minutes later, there is a corner and White will float this far post for Kelly Hield. That one comes off the woodwork. We're going close, but unfortunately, still scoreless. And a couple of players are now going down to red hearts off the back of that previous double chance we did have, and also a couple out there on a bit of a fair rating. So we'll take off Bradish for Evans. McGoldrick can come on for Bindon on a red heart. Does look like Kelly Heald better suited as a ball-playing defender. And George McDonald on a 6.4 today. Craig Johnston can make his actual debut. Did have a game in a warm-up friendly to the World Cup, but didn't actually get a cap for that. So we'll bring him on for a debut and also go a bit wider and distribute to fullbacks. We'll see if that might help us grab a winner in these last 20 minutes. And only a couple of minutes on from that previous lot of subs, now we're going to make our last one because Victor Sono as well as Stamanic is down to a red heart, but I think right back, fresh things there might make the most difference. So Darman can come on. That's all our subs used. Still 0-0 with less than 15 minutes left. And we continue to wait for some decent highlights here in the second half. So now it's time for us here to go full out attack. We'll check our wing back onto attack. We'll put the Evans onto support. And also Chris Jones can go onto attack. We'll go attacking with our mentality, be more expressive. And we might also go to a higher defensive line like we have at Cashmere Tech. We'll see if that might make a difference. If these changes do make a difference, maybe should use those from the start in these all-white games. Jones plays that one across the face of goal there nicely to Hall Jones, and he finds Craig Johnston for, I think, that's his first goal in an all-white shoot. Off the back of that, we're going to drop our wing-backs here onto support and both defensive midfielders onto defend. We'll just see if that might help us hold on to this advantage, but thankfully, those changes do make a difference. Also, let's just do a little bit of time-wasting stuff, seeing as we've just made our way into the last 10 minutes of this game, but thankfully, we finally score a goal in this one, and it's through the man who came on for a struggling George McDonald, who was on a 6.4. Craig Johnston, indeed, that's his first goal for New Zealand, I think, in his debut properly in a competitive game, because those World Cup friendlies do not count in the lead up to that tournament. Hall Jones there, unlike Stamanic around the hour mark, actually plays that one across the face of goal off back with that nice ball in there from Chris Jones, and thankfully Johnston is there to head that one home. The Phoenix man who was pretty knackered going into that first game. Thankfully George McDonald was available. Unfortunately though, here's a highlight right from the restart. Let's hope that Paraguay don't get an instant equaliser like happened before in that Ecuador game when we type things back up. But thankfully, we deal with that danger. Nice ball there from Evans. Kelly to Chris Jones. Just needs to find Johnston there, but unfortunately, takes a bit too long. We might have blown that chance as Jones makes his way inside the box, goes down there like an absolute prima donna. Unfortunately, play continues. Now Paraguay with a decent chance here on the counter-attack. Godoy does get slightly in behind there down our left-hand side, and it comes off the woodwork, that shot. Thankfully, Adam White can clear it away. So Paraguay there do go quite close, but thankfully still 1-0 in front late on in this game. Let's see if anything else does happen as we make our way into 5 minutes of added time. Thankfully, I think that might be all she wrote in this one. Indeed, that is the case. A bit of an unfortunate result there against Ecuador, a draw, but we end up beating the higher-ranked team in this window. It was a bit scrappy, but a 1-0 win over Paraguay. Obviously, no Enciso probably affects them quite hard. He's their star player without a shadow of a doubt. It looked like there for the South Americans, but thankfully late impact there from Craig Johnston, who picks up a winner, a debut goal to give us a 1-0 win. So a decent window for us there, pretty similar to the last one, but this time we actually beat the team ranked above us in the world rankings, but draw off the one below us, unlike what happened last time around with Australia and Japan. A couple of news items as well off the back of that. Stamanic now has broken the New Zealand caps record, which previously was Chris Wood, then Kakache, now Stamanic, still 33 years old. He should actually extend that one, even though these days he is a bench player before he does retire these days. 106 caps. Also, Craig Johnston, as I said, with a debut goal, a big one as well, to give us a win in that game there against Paraguay, but unfortunately have clicked forward a little bit off the back of that game, and our ranking has not changed at all. So unfortunately, that draw against Ecuador might have just cost us their rise in the world rankings. That win over Paraguay actually quite important potentially, because thankfully did not drop down, but still there in 31st on the world rankings, right on the verge of making our way inside the top 30. But I think that will do it for today's episode. In fact, it won't, because while that's been going on, I've done a bit of transfer business with Cashmere Tech. May as well sort that out now, seeing I don't know how long it will be until the next episode that we do come back for. I've got to come up with something tomorrow in real life, but you guys won't see it until Monday. So we'll see what I get up until for the start of next week. Hopefully can get pretty smartly into the championship phase of the National League. But we did lose Marlon Deering to that deal where he went to Middlesbrough. I have signed a replacement from the Coastal Spirit down in the second tier here in the South Island for £4,000. I have signed Mitchell Clout, who's actually a pretty promising striker who was playing there in the second tier. 8 games, 5 goals for Coastal. Pretty good potential, and also that is the case for the national team. 2.5-star current ability, not as good as Juan Carlos Castro, but certainly a very handy player for us, especially because he is an extra option as an under-20 player and will be for plenty of years as well. So that's a transfer we have done to replace Marlon Deering. Hopefully this guy ends up being a bit of a gem and could potentially be a future option for the All Whites. But that will do it for today's episode. Bit of a decent international window there with the All Whites, as I said, but unfortunately no rise up the world rankings. If you enjoyed it, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on, so I will come back at the start of next week, as I said, for something with Cashmere Tech. Again, might be a bit of a shorter episode, but I'll see how far I get before I do need to record that one. As I said, that's tomorrow for me in real life. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.